And Dave, let's close out the podcast with a little bit of a chiller conversation. And before we get into it, make sure to rate and review the Primetime Podcast on Apple Podcast and iTunes. Every 5-star rating means the world to us, helps us get into the ears of more people. And Dave, we're talking about transfers and transferring in all of college sports. And the reason why we're talking about this is because Big 12 commissioner, this is about a couple weeks old now, but I think it's still kind of
it's totally relevant right now because the transfer portal is still open.
Where I'm looking up the exact name. Big 12 commissioner Bob Bowlsby said on around June 11th, basically that transfers should sit out 1 year, where it's a lengthy quote, but I'll read most of it. He goes, "There's a fundamental mistake in all this that we ought to seek to fix." Bowlsby told the assembled group, adding, if he was a benevolent dictator, he would enact a rule that would make all transfers sit out 1 year. He said, there's a rule that treats different sports different ways, and we should have had a rule treated all the sports the same way. We would have been much better off if there was always a transfer residence requirement in all sports. Everyone sits out and gets acclimated and then have a chance to get a year back by graduating. He then went on to say the problem is what's a good rule for some might not be a good rule for all when you have 350 institutions in D1 that are all trying to do what's best for their institution. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to come up with a plan that is mutually impactful and favorable for everyone. What is a great rule for 100 schools is terrible rule for the other 250. So the viability of those kinds of ideas, it's a big change. But I think that's where change has to start. We have to think about it at its foundation and design something that works better than what we have. I get where he's coming from.
Do you?
But I don't think it works. And the reason why I say I get where he's coming from, because he's coming from an educational standpoint.
Oh, okay.
He is coming, because what he said was they get a year to get acclimated. But let's be honest.
You emphasize the word,
let's bring back Cardell Jones. We ain't here to play school, Dave.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Basketball, football, that's what we talk about mostly here. Like, he's talking about all sports.
Yep.
I feel like when it comes to the volleyball, the water polo, the badminton, like those sports, a lot of those athletes, you get the, hey, because there's not like a professional volleyball league unless you're going to do sand volleyball or like play for the women's team and stuff.
Play for the Olympics. There are semi-pro volleyballs.
I feel like a lot of those smaller sports, you do have students that are like, hey, I'm active in my study. And not that football players and basketball players aren't.
But let's be honest.
But most of them are there too, like basketball. I am here for my year that I have to serve with you before I go to the league.
Well, that's the upper that's the upper point. 1% of players.
And that's what he's saying, where what's a good rule for some might not be a good rule for others.
Yeah.
I'm just on the mindset of, I get you want them to get acclimated because obviously as an education standpoint, you don't want students failing if they're not ready for college. But the same thing, I look at it and go, let's give the power to the students. They are 18 when they make this decision. There are many students that when I worked as a college counselor, I would blatantly, and my employer probably wouldn't like this if I told them this now. I would tell students, if you're not ready to come to this 4-year institution, go to community college in 2 years. We have transfer counselors. Talk to them. After you go to community college, it's a little bit cheaper. Then you can transfer in. Same thing here. You're making this decision at 18. And just because I chose UNC as a freshman, I'll go football because it's 3 years. Why should I be punished and have to sit out a year because this wasn't a fit? Or let's say I came to UNC because I like this coach and he gets fired. Now I want to move. Oh, I got to sit out because the school fired my guy.
Or the following year, you're a redshirt freshman. The next year, you think you're coming in ready, and all of a sudden they recruit another quarterback, and they're just going to slide him right in front of you.
Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, you are their prize of the year, but the next year there's a new prize. There's a new hotness that they're going after. They're offering their scholarship to, because that's the business. And that's the thing. You're balancing a business with the larger sports versus education with everybody who's not a 0.01% athlete. And I think that's the thing to have perspective on is, we talk about football and basketball, and these are the upper percentages of like athletes. And there's only 500 people in the NBA, I think. That's 500, 600. And, there's hundreds of thousands of kids who play, D1 sports. So I don't think it's a foregone thing to say,
and
like,
only 60 of them get drafted each year.
Yeah. It's insane. So I don't think you can base a rule around that. But at the same time, I feel like punishing players for trying to give themselves the best opportunity to succeed is against what I would view college as. College is there to that's the problem. I guess it's, what do you think college is? And I know we both have very different perspectives. Like, college is there to prepare you for the rest of your life. Whether it is to go through and get your associates, bachelor's, master's, doctorate, whatever, and that's your career opportunity, or whether it's to go through and get you in the national spotlight so you can get drafted in college or out of college to go play a professional sport, whether it's baseball, football, whatever that is. Like, there's different opportunities to succeed, but college should be the platform that can get you to all of them, and it should make rules that hold players back for trying to put themselves in the best position to succeed.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I'm thinking football, because like basketball is interesting because it's 1 year, and let's be honest, in about a year or two, that rule's not going to exist.
Exactly.
They'll be able to come out from high school.
But that's only affecting even just 1 to 4 guys a year, maybe. I mean, that's going to be the tiniest of percentages.
True. But like, we're talking about, let's say I went
Quentin
to Belmont.
Grimes.
Yeah.
Quentin Grimes, we talked about a couple times recently. So that's why he's a great, example of, he went to college at Kansas. The system didn't fit him. He had an underwhelming performance throughout the whole year. Only a couple games where he really got to shine. And he's like, look, I need to go somewhere where I can be me. And he's going to transfer to Houston, or he's going to transfer to A&M, and hopefully have another swing at the NBA after this year.
And
I mean, isn't that the goal?
It is. And I mean, the term I don't like that Bobo used here is benevolent dictator. Probably not the right words to use, Bob.
Well, no, he's saying, like, if he has a magic wand and he can, make the rules be whatever he wants as a dictator. So he's trying to make
dictator a good thing?
No, he's just saying, like, if he was a dictator, he would make that a rule.
Yeah.
Or he would start there at least.
For me, I look at it and go, because I know there's hardship waivers. Like, for example, there was, I know Illinois had one on basketball where it was basically where I can't remember who it was, but he went somewhere else. He wanted to be closer to home, wanted to come to Illinois because his mother was sick. And he put in a hardship waiver of, hey, I don't think I should be able to sit out this year,
right?
Because the reason I'm transferring is to be closer to my mom.
Yeah.
In that case, the NCAA was like, sure, all right, you can start right away, or you can play right away. And I feel like that's not the best. The system we have right now is not the best one. And I get what's right for some is not right for others.
Yeah.
But is there a way where, like, I feel like the not right for some is basically the taking away this year out is the not good for the smaller school, because it's like, hey, you know what? I know, like, I'm thinking football here because it's 3 years. Hey, I know I'm not good enough to go to Kansas, but I don't really want to go to community college. So you know what? I'm going to go to a smaller D1 school. I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to show that I can perform against D1 talent.
Yep.
And then try to transfer into
San Diego State,
basically into that higher school. Like maybe go to San Diego, maybe like a San Jose State. Play against them, because San Diego State's more their basketball program.
That's why I was literally just thinking of.
I mean, Pumphrey came from San Diego State, so that works.
Who was the player who literally just went this year? He was second best player in college basketball. I literally can't think of his name. He was just drafted. No.
Oh, you're talking about Murray State with
Nope, totally not. I'm talking about someone who's...
I thought you said... Didn't you say basketball?
Second best player in college basketball. No, it wasn't John Morant. Why can't I remember his name?
I don't know.
He played next to Rui. He was Brandon Clark.
Oh, yeah. Gonzaga.
Brandon Clark. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was
Literally
thinking.
the second best player in college basketball. He was someone who went through, went to smaller school.
Jose State, and then went back up. The year off is going to hurt those small schools. Yeah. Because then some of those kids might have to think, well, do I want to sit that year out? But I just feel like it's beneficial for all because I don't feel that it's right to take the power away from students who, I'm going to go back to it. You're 18. Think back to 18, Dave. Did you make the best choices at 18? Because I know I didn't. And when you're picking college, it's a big decision. And especially football, because I bring that back up because you're there for 3 years. I feel like it's wrong to say, hey, you can transfer, but you got to sit out. But, you can put in a hardship waiver. And if we're feeling gracious and if the reason is a good enough reason, then, yeah, we'll let you play right away. It's like, then why not just make it to where they can all play right away?
Yeah.
Because that's how I feel it should be. And if I am a smaller school and I lose that guy, yeah, I might be losing a good player. But guess what? There's more players that you can try to recruit to come in. I know that's probably an easy answer, and some people may say, well, Ricky, you're overlooking this one area of it where the rule just doesn't fit for every school.
Yeah.
But I'm on the side of I want to give the players more power because the thing I think of, and I know this is a little different because it wasn't sports, but like when we were in college, I almost transferred away. I was at one school, almost transferred away to a different one. And the reason why I didn't was every single music course I took, they're like, well, you'd have to retake half of them. And I was like, fuck that. I already took these. I don't want to spend more money. I'll just tough out the last year that I have at the school that I'm at. Why can't these kids in sports have the same thing of like, if I'm going to transfer somewhere, I get to play right away and not have to lose a year of basically like even in basketball, like you lose a year and it's like, great. Like now I'm closer to my prime.
Yeah,
like,
that's it. Like you're a ticking clock. And that's the thing. Like Brandon Clark talks about when he had to basically redshirt that 1 year from 2017 to 2018 after leaving San Jose State before being able to play.
To not lose a year of eligibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough because you're just stuck there on the end of the bench basically watching and you're not able to contribute to the team. Yes, you can practice with them and all that, but like you can't play. So it's rough, and that definitely hurt his draft stock because had he been a full year younger, he wouldn't have been the old man of the draft basically coming out, and he potentially would have been drafted much higher. So I don't know if he would have performed as well with another year of season without that full year of working on himself, but the question's still there. Yeah. With football, I think it's a little different, but still, I think you just at the end of the day, you can't apply the same rules to football, basketball, and baseball as you do for the smaller sports, which are not based around a major league system. And I think that it's all about the income.
So different because they actually have it to where you can come out of high school.
Exactly. But it's just the whole idea of like college football is a moneymaker. College basketball is a moneymaker. Yeah. Not many sports in college are moneymakers. And the fact that we're trying to apply one flat rule across multiple sports, it's just not right. Like you have to treat every sport individually, and they have to all have their own rules. You want to treat everything fairly, but maybe not like you have to treat them equal to some. What am I trying to say? Fair and equal are not the same thing, but you have to treat them all fair. I don't think they all have to be treated equally because college football makes billions of dollars. Like Texas college football is insane money. Yeah, that's what they roll in all the time.
It's why the Longhorns have their own network.
Exactly. But, their basketball team, smaller. Their baseball team, smaller even than that. Their women's sports, smaller than that. Their soccer, smaller. And it's just like, you can't apply the same rules across all of these.
Or if you go to Kansas, it's flipped. The basketball team is huge. The football team, let's see if Wes Miles does anything, but that football team hasn't really been good in a while.
Yeah, I just think that I understand what he's trying to do. I just disagree with it on principle at this point because I don't think that you can treat everything the same way. because they're not treated the same way by the college. So why should you try to apply the same rules against them all?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it just comes back to also, I mean, you can then go into the different discussion of like it kind of has that same thing of paying the players as well, where it's like most of these college athletes kind of feel like, wow, I'm not getting paid. It's basically forced labor that you have me at. And if I have to sit out, I'm a year older, and then what? I'm risking another year of injury where I can, you risk that injury playing anyways, but like that year younger, you can come in, get acclimated right away and play.
Yep.
And I feel like also part of it, and if I'm looking business-wise, part of it's a way to get the school to have money. Because like Brandon Clark, while he was sitting on that bench, I mean, scholarships, like those schools differently, but like a smaller school, let's say like I know NAIA is not D1, but like let's say they did it in NAIA. Well, NAIA doesn't have full rides for everyone. So if I have to sit out, I'm at this school where I'm paying tuition, and it's I'm another year of racking up money to then pay in student loans. And that also goes into it for those smaller schools that might not have that player with a full ride or won't get a full ride from the school he's transferring
Jimmy
to.
Butler went to JUCO. I mean, that's another option out there. So it's just, it's just frustrating me at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think this gets fixed. I like the transfer portal. I think that's
it's cleaner.
It's a lot cleaner, and it's a lot easier for them to, enter the portal, and then you can talk to schools.
They've got a very smooth process instead of the games that they had to jump through the hoops and everything. So I enjoy the direction they're going.
What about those games where it's like, oh, you're transferring from Alabama, you can't go to an SEC school, but then you can't go to this school in the Big Ten because they're one of our rivals, and it's like, great, where can I go?
You have to sit out a full year if you're going to play for any of these, but we'll allow you to go here only on Wednesday. Like, it's just like, come on.
Only on a Wednesday, after 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's just... It's ridiculous.
Don't miss it by 15 minutes like Dave missed his coffee run.
Cost me $1.30. College sports, like seriously, the NCAA is such a big racket, and they need to get serious about it because I feel like players are talking more and more about how they're being taken advantage of and not being treated fairly across the board. And I think at some point there's going to be a breaking point, and I don't know whether it's going to be a player strike, whether it's going to be just enough attention gets to it where people who run the NCAA have been replaced, and we have some fresh minds in there who are willing to make changes. Because we're starting to slowly go in the right direction, but I don't know if it's quick enough.
Or do we see other alternatives? Like I know in basketball we talked about, well, you can go play for the G League, you can go play internationally. Yeah. Like, what if I know the AAF was a
failed experiment?
I know the XFL is the only thing I don't like about it is it seems like their players are going to get paid dirt cheap,
and it looks incredibly dangerous.
Exactly.
Again,
I wonder, are there any of those we see? Maybe side leagues pop up towards like, hey, don't want to go to college? Come here, get paid. But
it would be interesting.
But the thing we see from that is you need investors, and those investors want fucking return on their investments.
Yeah, I mean, and when you can't even prop up the WNBA with the NBA's backing, you really wonder, like, where's the money going to come from? And that's the biggest thing. If, like you said, the investors want their return, and if it doesn't look like it's going to be profitable early, it's going to be really hard to convince someone, pony up the first 10 years of this league, and then by year 11, you might be profitable. That's a long time to sit on money.
Especially if that person's like 60, it's like, great, so I won't see it till I'm 71. I could be dead.
And that's the thing, is you can make so much more money in a bunch of different places. It's got to come from like a place of passion or a place of love, and that's the hardest thing when it comes to finding those investors. So it's a tough question. I don't know if there's a right answer right now, but they need to work harder on working towards a better answer.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what your guys' thoughts are on this. Do you think that, no, it should all be this way, it should all be that way? Well, is there a compromise where it's some of the time this way, some of the time that way? Let us know what you guys are thinking down below. And if you're a student athlete listening to this, I want to hear your experience. Like, have you been in a situation where you tried to transfer, whether you're D1, D2, D3, NAIA, anything. Let us know what you guys think down below. Like the fucking, I know this isn't a transfer thing, but it just popped into my head. Like that player from Central Florida, where he had a YouTube channel, was monetizing his videos, had to get rid of his channel. Had to get rid of his channel because he couldn't make money as a player. But us in college could do this and make money, and no one cared because we weren't an athlete, so it didn't matter. To us, it's just we hold these athletes to certain standards that we don't hold everyone else to, and it's asinine in many situations. But let us know what you guys think down below. Also, check out I'm going to do it again, Dave. Smash that link down below in the description to check out patreon.com. I just can't even say it with a straight face. Bronze, silver, gold. We got different tiers for you guys to help support us. Make sure to rate and review us on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, and then make sure to follow us on twitch.tv/MostValuedPodcast and sub to us if you have that Amazon Prime. Want to thank Dave for joining me for this edition. Want to thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Thank you guys for listening on podcast services around the world. And as always, have a good day, everybody.